I don't want to take too much of your time talking about everything else. So I did want to talk about SolidWorks Electrical. What is SolidWorks Electrical? Software. It is a powerful 2D schematic tool as well as a 3D tool. So it integrates your mechanical and electrical together. You can create everything from a single line drawing to a multi-line drawing to a cable harness drawing and integrate all of it with your 3Ds to have a coordinated bill of materials for both MCAD and ECAD. It can help you calculate exact wire lengths, cable routes, and just manage your drawings and your design better, both again in mechanical and electrical, to bring the both silos together. And overall help you with creating your schematics, your design faster, getting it on the shop floor faster, and helping you get documentation on the shop floor that would make your manufacturing faster. So overall, it is faster time to market, essentially, while it's saving you an enormous amount of money. What does it include? It includes a comprehensive parts database, so you don't have to create everything from scratch. You have the capabilities of doing that. And it provides amazing tools for PLC, schematics, terminal drawing, and reports. With that, I'm going to pass the baton to Delvin here, and he can then show us all the great stuff he is going to show. So let me just transfer this over to Delvin, and we can get going.
Thank you, Sanu.
There we go, Delvin. You should have control. Before you start, Delvin, I did want to ask a poll question just to keep it, again, a little more interactive here. So I would really like to know, what tool do you use today? Are you a SolidWorks Electrical user already? Do you use something like any of the Autodesk suite features, other intelligent CAD packages, maybe Visio, or maybe a good old drafting paper? A lot of responses on Visio, and some are, of course, some are using the AutoCAD suite. Few SolidWorks Electrical customers, quite a few actually, and we have a couple who are using the good old drafting paper as well. Well, all of you are in for a treat, of course. Delvin is going to show us exactly how we could do some design in SolidWorks Electrical right now.
Thank you, Sanu. So what's new in SolidWorks Electrical 2014? They made a couple of enhancements to the features available. We've got the redefined methods of how you can improve your design and your design processes, how you can take this schematic, the designs, and push it to production, just to the shop floor, to the guys or your customers, and how the end-to-end solution has some amazing performance enhancements. So what kind of feature enhancements do we have? In 2014, they've added a couple of search tools that help you siphon through your projects, depending on how many projects you can work on simultaneously. You can look for your manufacturing parts, you can look for your components, your data. You also have a seamless integration between your single line and multi-line schematics, and you can now have them on the same page. For those enthusiasts who like to classify and categorize their projects by location and functions, now it does allow you to inherit those properties in electrical. And finally, the paste special. Without further ado, let me show you how. You see the 2014 over here, we have our project manager. And in the project manager, I'm going to look for a project.
Just to clarify, Delvin, this is SolidWorks Electrical 3D that we're looking at right now.
This is 3D, and it makes it even more interesting, where you can simply put in a project you're looking for, and it filters out the project that you need, and it opens it up. Now, the interesting fact between SolidWorks and SolidWorks Electrical or Schematic is that both of them share a SQL database that makes it really useful for you as a team or a single user to share your components and data between your projects. When we move into the electrical world, they both happen to be standalone applications. So you can run them individually or you can run them on your own. We have a statement of work over here or a line diagram. It comes in, you decide this is what we want to do on our project. But as an electrical designer, you now have the flexibility to simply have both your multi-line and single-line information on the same drawing sheet.
That would be really useful, right? As in, if I know I have had instances where I wanted to show some detail. Of course, schematics are detailed drawings, right, for logic. But at the same time, you can have the high-level overview, just so that you don't have to look at all the lines and all the wire numbers. If you just need to know what is connected to what, I think this is a great feature.
It is a really good tool, especially now you can have both of them in the same view. You can continue on with your schematic, and as you go, you realize that this just isn't simple lines. They're intelligent lines. You've got information, electrical information associated with it. You can bend them, you can fan them out depending on what you want to go. So I know I need a second motor. So I'm simply going to go in here and search for it. If you have a rough day and you decide to just type in a partial string, it's powerful enough for you to go in there and pull out exactly what you're looking for. Now, by default, it's going to protect me from creating duplicates, and it's going to ask me, okay, do you want to label this? But I don't want to. I want to make sure that it does not have a new label. I want to have an existing label. So I'm going to use some of the additional search features that came in for components this year, and I'm going to have it down as M2.
Right, and this happens quite often, right? Because the motors are being added by the mechanical, or figured out by the mechanical designers. So a mechanical designer pretty much could add that in SolidWorks Electrical 3D.
Yes, they could. So you can share the components between both teams, environments, and sometimes you might just have your managers or engineering project managers. They make some of the decisions depending on how your stakeholders want their products designed. So I've got this in here. I've put my motor in. Like our designers, even I like to copy paste. And when you do that, you see that it created new device designations or marks, so I don't have to worry about any duplications in this process.
So basically, if you zoom in there, I suppose they all would see that you copied F1 and K1, and it is now F2 and K2, and also broke those lines and added that into those connections.
Yes, now they are intelligent connections. They aren't just lines. They are wires with electrical information.
So you don't have to trim them or anything like that. That is really great.
Nothing of that nature is required. Now I know some of us are a little picky of how we're going to have our designs laid out, and in 2014 you can simply select and create specific locations for your projects and components. Now I want to have both of these motors placed out in a conveyor location, and both of these motors will now inherit the property of how I'm going to classify this.
Oh, that is really great. That's easy. Rather than having to do it on each one of them, you can just draw the box. And I used to use this all the time, right? I'm sure you do it as well,
yes,
where you classify everything with a dotted line box or a straight line box, and now you can actually track that. Does that come into the bill of materials as well?
Yes, it does. Right. You can and you can customize those too, depending on how you want to go.
Wow.
With so many features in SolidWorks Schematic and Electrical, you can also leverage some of the existing drawings that you have. And I personally like reusing my drawings. I know it makes a big difference. You don't have to worry about recreating your components, etc. In 2014, they added the Paste Special. Now, in the Paste Special, the beauty of this feature is that you can use the existing marks if you really wish to. If your projects have repetitions where you always will use this component in the same mark, it works. But if you want to create a new mark, it does give you the option.
So basically, you can use the same name for the component if you use it in all the projects, essentially, like your power supply, for example. You might use a whole bundle of a power supply and it's always named the same, maybe. But if you want to change something like using terminals or something, it'll let you change that.
Yes, it would.
That is great. So yeah, I've had that before. I've been using this feature for quite a bit with reusing circuits. And it's always been a pet peeve of mine that I want certain wire numbers to remain the same or certain devices to remain the same. Well, I think it's neat, really neat feature.
I know, and in the end of it, I showed you how search tools are available. Now you can search for projects, you can search for your components, you can have your single line and multi-line on the same page, you can have your locations, functions, and your devices and components can actually inherit this, and the page special. I think it's some really good features, especially when you're using this in a bulk environment. Redefine design methods. Well, SolidWorks Electrical has been really great at it last year, and they're taking it a step further this year. Some of the tools like how your terminals can be represented, how your PLC drawings can be automated, are some of our favorites. There's nothing new with the PLC drawings, but it's just such a good tool to use. It makes your life a lot easier, especially if you're working in bulk and you've got like, I don't know, 25, 50 PLCs to go do. It saves you a lot of time. The design rule check. Well, when you get to it, it's just one of those features that you're grateful to have. It shows you if your design is electrically intact, and I just like it. And to move on, we still have, we've got a new addition to the wipeout tool, and some of the passive symbols have now been introduced into SolidWorks Electrical. So, we've got electrical design over here, and I want to insert terminals. So I'm simply going to draw right across. And as I do that, SolidWorks Schematic tells me, okay, do you want to use an existing terminal, or do you want to simply go ahead and let me assign one? But I'm a little picky. I want to make sure I have some control on it. So right there, I've got my terminals inserted.
Wow, so let me get this straight. You drew a line across multiple connections and you added terminals on each one of them?
Yes, that's exactly what it did. It cut right through and added connections to it.
Nice.
And it gets even more interesting. The application has a unique way of representing information. So you can see how the terminals and the terminals are easily laid out over here. You can see the wires, the connections, the cables. The terminal strip editor is a very useful tool. I can simply go in here and associate the cable cores. And in a few selections, and now have a cable added to that wire. So while we're still in this, each of these cables have properties, and they come in from your manufacturing information that exists within your database. You have diameter information, bend radius, voltage drops. You can some of the electrical information like applied voltage, full load current, and rush factor. All you have to do is simply put that check on, and while you're working in the project, SolidWorks Electrical will simply show you if you have any errors in your design.
So basically, I would enter what the load is, what the current is that's going through, and all the information that is there in a cable. You can calculate stuff based on that.
Yes. So before I get to that, here's another interesting feature. I've always had customers tell me, projects are rushed, we don't have time to take care of the terminals, our guys on the floors somehow figure it out, and that's how we do our business. But what if everything could simply be assimilated with a simple click of a button? Right now, I built my cable, it shows up in my schematic, and I also have a terminal representation of how my entire layout should be. I know the guys on the floor in production really love this. It makes it really simple to troubleshoot.
Of course, and this is, I guess, what we were talking about, making sure that your manufacturing team has the right information, and even your support team that supports your design can really
benefit from it.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
I did bring up that we've got some new tools in terms of design rule check, but It pulls out all the manufacturing information, and it goes ahead and does a voltage drop. It tells me what my voltage drop percentage, and I find it very useful. At the end of the day, if you think about it, a couple of eons ago when you were an intern, wouldn't you have loved this tool?
Absolutely, especially because it's calculating the length of the SolidWorks routing. So you know the length now, you know the voltage. It's pretty easy, but
even if you don't have SolidWorks, you can actually input in a lens that you desire for your project if you're running standalone application for electrical.
Wow, okay.
And you have all these other nice rules that are available. You can take use of it and make use of it and leverage it to make sure your design is electrically stable.
That is great. As in rule checks, design rule checks are always great, because I'm sure everyone out there is checking their drawings 10 times to make sure everything is correct. If anything that can assist with that, I know I would have loved it when I was designing full time.
Yeah,
I love it right now.
Well, we showed you how the terminals work. We showed you how you can check and make sure your electrical design is flawless. Let's take a look at how PLCs work. There is nothing new with the PLCs, but it's just one of those things that take a few seconds to show. And I've had a lot of customers come back and go, wow, this is going to save us a lot of time. And as you can see, I'm simply adding in a PLC. I'm letting SolidWorks Electrical or Schematic know that this is what I want to create. And in the next few clicks, I'm leveraging some of the drawings that I already have as a part of my design. That's it. I've set it up. I've got my input set. I'm letting the default outputs go. And I'm going to have SolidWorks Schematic make use of this and draw the drawings for me.
I think you went really fast there. I'm not sure everyone saw what you just did. So
I apologize. I try not to be like the Flash, but it's just one of those applications that you love. So
if only you could design this PLC again and again like this, and you can do this for every PLC that you have, right?
No, that's the thing. So by the end of it, when you've got 50, 60, 100 PLCs, and you're just going at it, and you've got a customer or you yourself design them, I've got my PLC drawn in there. I did nothing. It barely took about a minute or less.
Wow. So what you did there, just so that I can understand this and so can all our audience, you added a PLC part.
Yeah.
You assigned some inputs and outputs to those.
Yep.
And then you said, let those inputs and outputs use the design you previously had.
Yeah, I just used to leverage some of the existing information I already had from previous projects.
And you did that in more of like a few button clicks, and then you said, draw that for me?
That's exactly what I did. I had SolidWorks Electrical do all the work.
It's like that iRobot movie, isn't it?
It is. It's almost there. And it is a very editable feature. You can delete, you can add stuff to your drawing also. You just don't have to rely completely on the automation factor. I know, sometimes you just like to have a little nitty-gritty details in there to get you going. And in the 2014 edition, they also added something called the wipeout feature. Now the wipeout feature, if you've got proprietary information or you're simply trying to hide some of your printable layers, it makes a big difference.
Right, of course, and this is where it comes in, right? As in I've done it before, where I don't want to complicate the drawing too much. So I've hidden a few parts of the design, or you want to show it as a black box, but you still want to design it so that you can see what it is.
So all the information that's in there still stays in there. It comes out with the report, your bill of materials, then you can simply remove that if you want to have two different representations of it.
Right, so you can do it this way, or we have the black box feature anyways, right?
Yes.
That we have seen so many times. So we can do both, but this wipeout really is helpful because I don't really want to use a black box. I want control.
Yes,
but at the same time, I don't want to print it.
You don't want too much electrical intelligence with it. You just want to hide it.
Yep, that looks great.
And also, in this year's, in 2014's version, they've added passive symbols. Now, being designers, you need those. You need that information. The guys on the floor appreciate that detail. The less they come back to tell you something's not working, the more appreciation you have for it, the less amount of time it takes. And you can add these passive symbols, be it twisted pair or shield.
Okay, that does work. As in you could do that before, but with the passive symbols and wipeout now, you can show a more descriptive thing with the passive symbols, right?
Yes, indeed. And one of another favorites over here is our Origin and Destination Manager. Why is it useful? Well, if you're connecting from page to page and you don't want to go ahead and, I know I flip drawings trying to figure out where I need to go do my connection, but in SolidWorks Electrical, all I do is I have this nice manager over here, I figure out where I want to connect, and in a few seconds, I have my off-page references marked for me. And the beauty of it is, I don't have to worry about any of errors that could happen. It takes care of that for me. It maps it out based on the potential of the wires that you're using. It does a fabulous job.
Awesome, and it does keep it up to date, right? So if you change your page number or you move something around, it will update that automatically so that your reference is never wrong.
Yes, that's exactly it. And then that brings us back to how we have SolidWorks, SolidWorks Schematics, SolidWorks Electrical. Redefine your design methods to the terminal representation, to your electrical design rule check. You're automating some of your PLC drawings, your terminal drawings, the wipeout tools, and the passive symbols.
That was a great section that showed us how we can do our schematic work very easily. Delvin and I have to agree. But we are at a juncture where it would be great to know what type of electrical design do you guys do today? As in, do you work with controls design or cable or harness? Maybe you work with automotive or aerospace or heavy machinery, or maybe you work with multiple stuff because you're jack of all trades, or maybe you're working just with a couple. So let us know how that is. Wow, there's an eclectic mix of everything. It's almost equal. That is great. Just a couple more, and close poll. I'll close the poll in about 5 seconds. There we have about 90% people using, and automotive is just edged a little ahead. So that's great to know. Automotive design includes connectors and everything else, and we are going to cover some of that today towards the end of the session. So thank you guys for letting us know about that. We'll get back to Delvin's presentation. I am thoroughly enjoying it, so I don't want to take a break from that.
Okay, so now I've done all this useful and amazing stuff in electrical schematic, and I'm going to take this design and push it to production. Now, for production, you need a couple of more things in there. You need to show how your cabinets are laid out. You need to have them either in 2D or 3D. You also, if you're looking for parts just to have representations of how these are going to show up on your drawings, you have access to an online catalog now in 2014. And when you get all of this information together, the project is complete. You want to have some way of getting out reports and other documentation and having this as a complete project. You can take all this and finally manage it all in your enterprise data. So I'm quickly going to show you how we go into our electrical from here. So in front of me, from the standalone electrical application, I'm able to access a 2D layout. And in this 2D layout, I'm going to simply insert some of my components. It does give you the flexibility of deciding where to place your devices, and it also gives you the option of how you want to space them. A great example of how the wipeout is used in the back end of the application is at this point where you have your devices wipe out the rail.
Right, so they're sitting on the rail, you cannot see the rail.
You can't see the rail at all.
And that's a nice touch, right? As in, you always want some detail without having to worry about it, and I think 2D, if you're not doing 3D design, control panel design, this is a really good tool, and that's what I've heard from our customers, is that it has a very good connection between your schematic and your 2D layout, so you know which devices to place. It's like your to-do list there, and you can hide the stuff that you have already placed, right?
Yes, exactly. And you can also show in other information like length, cut length, and how you're going to place some of your devices. And I did mention there's an online catalog, and it's easily accessible from the application. You go online, and you have now a list of them. You have SolidWorks Electrical Portal. You have access to your 3D content in My SolidWorks, like you had initially pointed out. And it just doesn't stop there. They've taken this a step further. they've broken it down by industry. If you look on the left side of my screen, you can go in there and shop for manufacturers based on industry, and they're going on adding them daily. So you can look for 2D parts, 3D parts. You can also shop by catalog. So if you know who your manufacturer is, you simply go in here and you take a look.
Wow, that is great. As in, you don't want to always make parts, right? You want to be able to download the parts and see everything that is there, and just quickly add something. So that is a good feature, and it is directly there. So you don't have to go search on 3 websites, 4 websites. You can just go to SolidWorks, and inside the application itself.
Yeah, as long as you've got SolidWorks Electrical, you have access to it. And now we've gone into 2D. We've shown you how you can shop for parts if you don't have any. It does come with native content, but you can also get more depending on what your design needs require from you. And in the 3D world, we have all our list of components neatly laid out over here in the project. It's sharing it in real time. And I'm simply going to make sure we are able to add some more components. And while we're doing that, you can see all these components that are not there. Let's place a few of them. I don't have to worry about any mating. They're already electrically intelligent. They know that they've got to go onto a rail, and I can account for spacing. You know how we have to factor in heat dissipation to make sure you don't have any components burn out. And SolidWorks Electrical, they take all the information from each other and it does the work for you.
That is really great. That's similar to how you would do it in 2D, but in 3D it's as simple as doing it in 2D. Just the enormous complexity of usually what you would do in 3D before has been reduced, and that you made it look very, very easy. In the sense you just placed a few parts, and out there people who are doing mechanical or electrical, as in this can be done by both.
Yes,
and you don't need to be a SolidWorks expert to do this, as in this is very easy to learn. Just open up the SolidWorks Electrical 3D and just clicking and placing it, as in this is, but I'm not a mechanical guy.
It's really time saver. You don't have to know too much about the mechanical application if you're an electrical person. You just need to know, all right, this is my electrical component, and it goes. As long as you know how to use the electrical, you're good to go. And in 2014, they made some progression with their 3D routing. They take all the schematic information, it lays it out, it knows exactly how to pass them through the ducts, and you get wire length information. They've, like I mentioned, they came one step further, and they've added routing algorithms that make use of your cores of your processor and multiple sections of the processor. So as we go in here, you'll see that it's been neatly laid out.
And that was quick. So basically, they've made it faster. You could do this before, but now it's faster. It's taking all the electrical information or logical information from your schematic, right?
Yes, indeed. And like I said, both SolidWorks and SolidWorks Electrical, they work seamlessly between each other. So if I want to decide to simply export some of my reports at this point to gather some of the length information, it just does that. So I've got my bill of materials over here. I've got my wires and the lengths. I've got my cables with the length. I'm simply going to ask him, let's go ahead and generate them. Like all other features, SolidWorks Electrical has more reports you can access.
And there's so many of them.
Oh, there's so many of them. Sometimes you lose track. So let's take a look. There's actually a bulk of them, and not to mention, since it has a SQL database at the back, if you want to customize it, you can go ahead and customize. And I believe we also have done a lot of customization for our customers.
Absolutely. And then some people, of course, wonder, right? What will I do with so many reports? It caters to multiple situations. I know very recently we did a report, or we customized it a little bit because someone wanted to see all the devices in only a location and by function, right? So that makes it so much easier. So basically, if you have a conveyor or a motor control station 1, you just want to see parts in motor control station 1, and you can very easily show that while showing what function each thing does. So the reports are very, very customizable and really easy to use. it saves a lot of time. Our customers have seen almost 90 to 95% time savings with the reports, and that's what I keep hearing from all our customers.
We have a lot of happy customers at the moment, and you know what? Happy customers makes us happy. Well, I've already created my reports and I'm accessing it from SolidWorks over here. And like I said, it's shared between electrical and SolidWorks. You can also get all the length information in totals or simply as the way they're laid out. Excuse me.
And even the wire numbering information, right?
Yes, indeed. Even wire numbering information is available, and even your cables show up
with the length and total length and everything. So like wire numbering information along with length is, I know, very important to a few of our clients, which they provide to their manufacturing floor, and even for on-field installation, because it's so much easier to look at a report going, okay, I need to connect wire 1 to here, this is the length I need to cut it with, and that just makes it easier.
It's a time saver. It saves you on production costs, especially if you're building cables in bulk. It makes a big difference. I mean, we've got all these reports down. We've completed our schematic, but how do you pass it on into shareable formats? So you can export this into or publish it to eDrawings. It now has a plugin in 2014 where you can share this with your customers, and be it your customers or vendors or simply just your design team. If they want to take a look at it in eDrawings, it now has the flexibility to do that. One of our favorites over here is exporting to PDF. The reason it's one of our favorites is you're not always going to get CAD users looking at this. You're going to have people who make business decisions look at this, and it just neatly wraps up all the information and the time and effort that you've taken to build your project. Now, these aren't just
pretty pictures, right?
They aren't pretty pictures. You click on them and it takes you down to wherever you need to go. And it barely takes any time to organize this as it is. And if you wanted to, you can simply go ahead and jump from your tree on the side to your drawings.
So you have the same componentry that you had in SolidWorks Electrical Schematic,
yeah,
inside your PDF document as well.
Yes, indeed.
That is awesome.
I personally like the PDF. It makes life a lot easier. And all this information comes out. You've got put all your inputs in. You've got all your outputs. You want to manage that enterprise level. That's where PDM has been introduced. You simply update your files, and you can either archive the project as a whole. It takes all your models. It takes all your schematic information, packages it neatly. So if you do decide to share it with someone, or you want to make a revision off of it, it's available for you, bundled. You can have your drawings exported in DWGs. You can have your PDFs passed on into your EPDM, and also your reports.
Great. So basically, I can save all my data and do revision control if I wanted to by archiving everything, and that's my revision. Then I can start editing it. I can always go back to that revision if I wanted to.
Yes, indeed. I personally like.
Yeah, that is great. One thing that I haven't seen, Delvin, and I'd like to see is just do the wire numbering, right?
Well, I'm going to cover that in the next few seconds. I'm going to show you how wire numberings actually are displayed in our projects.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we've got our EPDM over here, and in this section I covered how you can take your design schematics and push it to production between the 2D cabinet layouts, how you can leverage the online catalog of the SolidWorks electrical user or schematic user. You can take all the electrical information and then push it into 3D and route it, create models, and make it useful information. Eventually, all this, the reports, the documentation, is neatly extracted from the SQL database that's shared between both applications. At the end of it all, you can manage it in your enterprise data.
Awesome. That was really detailed. Thank you, Delvin. Well, it is time for another poll question. We've seen some great features. It would be great to know, what would you like to change in your current design tool? If you had a magic wand, for example, would you want the automatic multi-standard wire numbering, where you can number wires based on their own numbering system or a common numbering system? Do you want to make sure that any change that you make is true across the entire project? Accurate bill of materials, then cable list, terminal reports. Would that be of help? Quick and easy ways to reuse design like we showed today. Would that be of interest, or is it 3D mechanical integration, or maybe it's all of the above? Lot of people 3D mechanical integration and design reuse. That is not, of course, that is not at all surprising because a lot of customers do want that. And to add to that, of course, we have a huge number of people saying
all of the above, right?
Yeah.
Looks like people want a unified solution.
Thank you for the answer, folks. Moving on to the next section.
Well, I showed you some magic in electrical and the schematic side, but in the 3D, they've gone ahead. You saw the routing, how fast it took place. The simple reason is because it moves 5 to 8 times faster
than the previous version, right?
Than the previous version. How it does this? They've added some new routing algorithms, which not just routing, which make use of the processor and the cores that you have in them. You've seen how the automated wiring works in 3D. In 2014, they've added the harness support. So now you can design your electrical content, you can create harnesses, and in SolidWorks you can actually go all the way from routing, getting your length information and flattening, and showing representations of it.
I mean, it used to do harness before as well, of course, but I think it just made it really fast and better now, right?
Yes, indeed. So here I have a harness representation, and look at it. You now have your wire numberings already introduced into them, and you can simply go ahead and add, you can modify, and they've had a lot of features in the 2014 version just to the wire numbering, so you can have customized them the way you want to.
Right, and of course it's just a click of a button, right?
Yes, it is. Now, I want to create a harness, so I'm simply going to go in here and select harness. What I have, this harness is for one of our bolter systems, so I'm going to call it a gauge harness because that's what it's supposed to do or be a part of. Now this harness information needs to have wires, cables, parts, components, so I'm simply going to go ahead and add a new harness. How difficult do you think it's going to be, Sanu?
I think it's going to take forever.
Yes, it does.
That's me.
Yes, it does. It's a long time. No. Well, you simply right click in here. Everything that exists within the harness now gets selected. And as soon as I select the harness, this information in the tree disappears. So if I were to close this and go back in here, the wires got added, and so did the components that are going to be part of the harness.
Right, so this is a true representation of a harness, right? We see harnesses a lot of times, and it's not just wires. Harnesses have many more things to it, right? Your connectors are going to be part of your harness. Your protection is going to be part of your harness. Any clips that are there are going to be part of your harness. All of that is bundled together and managed together, and that just makes it so much easier to work with because you know what's part of this harness, right?
Yes, indeed. So what I have in front of me is our standard bolter system. Now, we've already drawn and laid out a sketch path of how I want to have my harness laid out. But like I mentioned, you can simply select route harness, and SolidWorks Electrical and Schematic pass on all that useful information into SolidWorks. It computes it in less amount of time than it took in the previous versions, as this is a new feature in 2014. It makes use of all the available cores on your processor and just does a fabulous job.
So it is taking all the wiring information that you added, and of course it is taking into account which pin is connected to which pin, and it's taking the placed components together, and it's following that route that you created, right?
Yes, indeed. And what it does is it also takes all these components, electrical components. You know how I added them just now in the schematic. So it knows, okay, these are the components or models that are going to be used in my schematic. It takes it and it adds it in a separate assembly or out like a harness assembly.
So in the 3D, it's going to be a harness assembly, so you can just keep track of that.
Yeah. So
nice. Yeah, that would be really helpful, right? Because of course you don't want to manage parts of your harness in the entire tree. You just want to show that directly in subassembly. So
yes, indeed.
I'm sure the mechanical guys out there would appreciate that a lot.
Of course they do. I've been a tech on the floor before I moved into design, and I'll tell you one thing, that it's not a pleasant sight to get something like this. I know it's going to snap, it's going to cause problems downstream, it's a bad design, right? But at the end of the day, if you can simply fix it in a few seconds, it gives you that flexibility to go ahead and account for any modifications you'd like to do. So I'm going to simply go ahead and add tangencies to some of these joints.
Now I know for a fact that not everyone really, cares about the tangencies or whatever it is.
No, it's the length. It's the length of the wires. You want to make sure there's enough of leeway. You don't want to make sure that they're stiff or they're going to snap out, right?
Absolutely, and that is absolutely correct. But if you do not, so you don't have to do it, but it is a pretty sight. It gives you the exact length if you
have that flexibility if you want to use it. Now, all this is really useful up to a certain point, but then you want to have that ability to flatten everything. So this is what the route looks like once everything is routed. You have all your connectors and components, and I'm simply going to let it flatten as an annotation. You can also do it by manufacturer. And you see how fast that did that?
Wow, so let me follow this. You have a flattened harness with all the ends, with all the wires, all the length.
The length information, the color, it's just a beautiful sight. It just does everything for you. As long as your electrical schematic is available, there's real-time integration between electrical and SolidWorks mechanical to get your designs going. And if you want to eventually represent this on in your drawings, you can go ahead and place them out onto sheets. So you have your bill of materials over here, and you can also represent circuit information as to how your connections are being placed.
So this can directly go on a nail board essentially, and someone can use this to make the harness.
Yes.
Rather than taking a piece of string going across the entire vehicle, especially the automotive guys out there, right? Or I've done that before. I used to work on aerospace, and I've gone through a fuselage taking wires.
We're not saying there's anything wrong with using a piece of string. We're just saying there are other ways to do this. Redefine your design methods.
Absolutely. I would have loved to have this when I was in that fuselage, hot fuselage.
So yeah, to summarize this section of my demonstration, they made some marvelous performance enhancements to the 3D section. It's now 5 to 8 times faster. You've seen how the automated wiring works. It's got real-time support for harnesses between your electrical schematic and SolidWorks, and you can have flattened representations of your harnesses.
Thank you, Darwin. That was really really amazing. I learned a lot. I'm sure everybody else learned quite a bit as well, right? So having said that, I think that brings us to the end of your section, right?
Yes, indeed.
So let's take a look at what we learned today. So SolidWorks Electrical Schematic, which is the 2D section, where you can do single line, multi-line drawings, terminal drawings, PLC drawings, cable and harness schematics. Everything has a bunch of electrical features now added, right? Project managing can be done easier by filtering it. You can combine multiple drawings together, improve locations, passive symbols, search tools, wipeouts. The wire numbering is better now. It is taking into account equipotentials and labels and everything, and you can have more formulas now. The cross-reference manager is better. You can have more information now, and there's an online catalog for both 2D and 3D parts. Adding to that, I know I need to take a breath here because there's too many things to say, right? Calculations, it does length calculation, resistivity, resistance, voltage, ampacity or amp capacity, the power loss, the voltage drop, The bend radius rules are better now. Design rule checks can check for any wires that you've left off or you've not connected. If there are any wires without numbers because you manually removed the numbers or something like that. You can even publish to e-drawings. Of course, PDF and DWG are there already. Now e-drawings is also there, so you have more ways to share your design. And of course, in the 3D section, enhanced flattened hardness. It is the single most amazing feature I've seen in 2014, I would say. My favorite is because you can just do a simple schematic, click a button, route it, and you can have a flattened drawing all automatically created, which is just amazing, along with the summary of the circuit. So you have a complete drawing that you would spend hours and hours on, done very, very easily. It is really great. Of course, in 3D, there's the automatic routing of wires and cables, which has become much, much, much faster, 5 to 8 times faster. That is really great. It is used in multiple cores now. It's not a single core operation as such. Well, what does that tell us? Tells us that if you do not have SolidWorks Electrical today, it might be the right time to look at it. Why? Because SolidWorks is having a promotion. There is a promotion going on currently, lasting till December 15th, 2013, which if you buy 2 SolidWorks products, you get 1 free. So you buy 2 SolidWorks Electrical Schematics, you get 3D free. You buy 2 SolidWorks mechanical licenses, you get 1 electrical license free. And so many other mix and match combinations. It is amazing. We have seen a lot of people benefiting from it, and I'd like to reach out to you guys and say, if you are ready to look at it, look at SolidWorks, please feel free to ask us some details or get you a quote or any of those things. So before that, thank you for attending. I have a last poll question for you guys, just to see how we did. Did you find the webinar helpful? Was that exactly what you were looking for, and that we are amazing? Or we were good, as in I was great, and Delvin was okay, but you'd like more information? Or was it less than what you were expecting? Of course, we only had an hour, and if you want more information, you can always provide that if you need more information. And if you really missed the mark, please do let us know, and we can correct ourselves next time. Or maybe I can let Delvin correct himself next time, because of course I was great, right? As everyone's saying, I was amazing, Delvin.
The things I gotta let you get away with on a Friday afternoon.
Again, thank you everybody for attending. Delvin, it's good news. Our response is really great. They really think you also did well, surprisingly so. Hey, it's always a pleasure, presenting this to you guys. It's a great tool. All our customers love it. We love it. And if you want to know how to fall in love with SolidWorks Electrical, do reach out to us, and we can provide you plenty of information. There are a bunch of videos online as well if you want to learn more. Delvin keeps blabbering on our blog as well, which is great blogs, by the way. And you can check that out as well on www.javelin-tech.com, a great website. And thank you everybody for attending. And I'm closing the polls now. And reach out to us. Have a great weekend, a great afternoon. Thank you. This is Sanu and Delvin signing off from Javelin.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.